Beloved Creator, we give thanks for your holy presence. Surely your presence is in this place. This room, the program watched all around the room, this planet, they're all symbols of an outer something that is filled with your presence. But we understand that this is all a reflection of what we call upon to be our inner experience. So Heavenly Father God, Father, Mother God, we surrender all aspects of that which is not your presence in our hearts, our souls, in this temple within that we've desecrated with fear, war, struggle, post-trauma. All these things are not your will for us. We're learning to know and understand that. And we're choosing to surrender all such stuff to you. We give this to you, Divine Mother. And we allow you to lift it up as effortlessly as possible and as unconditionally as possible. There's no part that we choose to retain, to hold. We choose not to limit your presence today. And in this, our cup is fully glorified and emptied so that you are drawn irresistibly, very naturally, to fill this void with your presence. In and through us is holiness. In and through us is peace, love, joy, oneness, and abundance. We celebrate in advance that this is going to affect our lives. From this day forward, we are so grateful and fully ignited as light workers and as daughters of heaven. And so it is.
Please join me in reading our mission statement, which you can find on this card. Together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading of the day.
This is from White Eagle. Have you ever thought what forgiveness means? You, your human self, your own personality, needs your forgiveness. Your spirit is divine, but until you have overcome, your personality remains human and needs forgiveness of your spirit. As you forgive, as your spirit forgives your personality, so also will you forgive others for their seeming errors. If you train yourself to think in terms of love and forgiveness every moment of your life, a most beautiful healing will take place in you. Anger and resentment dissolve, and you are filled with adoration and love. Your consciousness is instantly raised above the pulls and antagonisms of the earth plane. This gentle love in you causes you to look on the world with understanding, compassion, and respect. Then you will know you can judge no one. Another person's divinity may seem unknown to us, but it is our duty and our joy to search for the divine in all, and so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us. What topics would you like to cover today?
Awareness of grace. Obligation.
Okay, hold on. Okay, what was the other one over there?
Self-love. Trust and faith.
Trusted or trusting?
Trust and faith.
Trust and
Our
faith.
healing power.
What's that?
Our healing power.
Healing power. And one more.
Releasing judgment.
Wait, what's that?
Walking light.
Thank you. Somebody said one here.
Releasing judgment program.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. one of the last ones that was requested, releasing judgment, that program of releasing judgment. And then there's also self-love and other ones, and we're going to try to work all these in. You know, it's very important for us to understand that when people feel separate from God, from love, which we do, whether we recall the moment of thinking we separated, it's just simple. We're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Something has happened, okay? You can just tell. Well, no, I don't agree, Michael. I don't think I feel really close to God. You're giving me religious dialogue. The fact that you can open your eyes and see anything that doesn't feel like perfect love, peace, joy means we're not in Kansas anymore. Something's gone wrong. See what I'm saying? It's hard for us to accept that, but there it is, guys. Look. So even though our senses are false witnesses to what really is here, because they're telling us the limited, the illusionary world. So even though they're false witnesses, we can at least put them to good use in one respect. What are they seeing? And they do not see and experience perfect love, peace, and joy. That's all that God is. So we're afraid of owning this. We get in our heads and we try to, deal with this, denial, minimizing. But look at what we're dealing with. The fact that we have war. What about when the years we don't have war? That doesn't mean there isn't conflict. If we're in God, we don't have any form of, you can't die. See, but we actually go, oh, but death is beautiful. I'm a hospice worker. I've watched people see angels. They should see them all the time. Oh, but it's wonderful because I know they reincarnate. That's just another term for being in hell. When you have to see, what do you think it is? You will be damned eternally. That's what they said, that old Christians concept. You will go to hell eternally. When Christians say that now, instead of like, wow, that's such a turnoff, just retranslate it. What that means is I have to keep reincarnating to this place of limitation. That is eternal damnation. You know what I mean? Honestly. Where is just God? What you mean, the God that you eventually lose and then go back to? No, it's there all the time. The great, I'm totally plugged in types of beings don't have highs and lows. God is not bipolar. It just is this bliss. And some people still say to me, yeah, but Michael, if we only had bliss, wouldn't that get boring? No, it actually wouldn't. But the voice that's coming out of you right now, that's the dysfunctional you that thinks that. And it's called the ego, and still convinces you that you have some sort of argument against heaven. Well, I think we should talk about this. We should vote about whether we should go back home, and because maybe some of us don't want to be there. Maybe some of us enjoy conflict. Of course, while you're on earth, when you still have psychopaths and narcissists and all kinds of other behaviors, selfishness in a word. See? But in God, none of that's there. And anytime we want to use our head to rationalize this world and make it have value that it can't have, the only value this world really can have, the only value, is when it starts to reflect that we're on our way home. This isn't home. Yogananda says that clearly. This is not our home. And he says, don't get too attached. No matter how pretty rainbows are, don't think this is it. Because guess what? Even beautiful rainbows, double rainbows, triple rainbows, oh my God, they end. In heaven, none of it ends. Right? Even someone that wins the lottery, 80% of the time they go broke quickly. That's not heaven. My child was healed from a childhood illness. They almost died. Thank God I got him back. They're still going to die. In heaven, they won't. Can't we vote to have good all the time? Do we really want to affirm you got to have negative to appreciate positive? That's another one of those lame, new agey kinds of statements. Those are people that don't understand God. So they come up with some cool bumper stickers. Well, if we didn't have all kinds of, war, we wouldn't appreciate peace. Try it. Just try it. I mean, really? Do you have to have conflict? Do you have to have child abuse to know what healthiness in behaviors would be? Let's not affirm that sort of thing. I'm not saying you have to walk around correcting people when they make these lame statements. Just in your head, and this too shall pass. This kind of belief that we have to have abuse to know peace, it doesn't make sense. But it does to those who don't know or believe in a God that is perfectly peaceful all the time. So, when people feel separate, they start to feel afraid. That's what happens. They start to feel guilty and afraid. Something's wrong. And when people are guilty and afraid, they become sort of paralyzed. Why? Because if the decisions I made when I was a child, if my soul decided to come into this crazy family, if my soul was attracted to and married a psychopath, look at the decisions we've made. You know what happens? We start to say, I don't think I can make any good decisions. So you start to become guilty when you're separate from love, from God, guilty and afraid. Then you become paralyzed, like, I don't know that I have any value. I don't know that I can make any good decisions. Even though that's not always conscious, it starts to happen. And people that are guilty and afraid are easy to control. So the world just goes, wow. The world created by the ego, and then people that want to step into powerful positions, they feed off that. Keep everybody afraid, and they're more easily controllable. Otherwise, if everybody's at peace and you say, I have some ideas, they check in and they go, no, we don't like that idea. But if I can make you all afraid, you're not going to think this through. You're going to react, and you're probably going to react based on one of two things. You're going to follow me. Most people would, if they're afraid, follow anybody that looks like they have anything to offer. If everybody's hungry and I got a Snickers bar, I'm God. If everybody's actually famine, and they've got nothing, anything looks good now. But this too shall pass. This has to end. But you can't fix it with the mind that creates it. So how do I get into a different mindset? I have to find this awareness of grace, one of you worded it. Where's that at? It's not in the reactive world. It's somewhere deep inside of me. And what's interesting is we become separate, then we feel guilty and afraid. Guilty and afraid leads to this sort of paralysis. And then that makes me make rash decisions, which makes me now feel afraid and guilty again for making rash decisions. And you see, it just perpetuates itself. People talk about this like self-perpetuating energy devices. Things that actually, when they move, they create more energy, right? Free energy kind of a concept. That's also an ego concept, meaning these self-perpetuating belief systems. They're not God-perpetuating, broken self-perpetuating energy devices, and they just go around and around. Then we're struck with this paralysis and this amnesia, but there's a cure. There has to be a cure. The first step to curing this, we have to own that we've done it. So in other words, if I feel guilty and afraid, and then I feel paralyzed, and now the world's going to say people that are afraid are easy to control, right? Remember I said that. So now that starts to perpetuate itself. You can't end it until you say, wait, I see I'm doing it. You have to own that you're doing it, that you're participating, that you're buying into this crazy stuff. Then I have to be willing to own this doesn't make me happy. But it's called giving your power away, in case that wasn't obvious. If I am controlled because I'm paralyzed, I don't know what decision to make. I've never made good decisions. I got post-trauma, I got childhood stuff, I got past life limiting beliefs, whatever it is. I don't know really what to do anymore. Now that is perfect for the powers out here to take control. But for them to do it, they're going to say, we have solutions. And you know what they need from you? Signing a soul contract to give them the power. I don't know exactly who to date. The ego says, if you just take this paper here, we're going to sign right here. You don't know, but I'll find just the right messed up people, right people for you. And then you sign it. And then later it's like, why are God? And God's like, no hablo inglés. I have nothing to do with this. You weren't speaking clearly to me when you cried out. You cried out to your ego. Well, I need this to go away. Then you ought to own it. But I feel bad when I own it. That's your ego too. Stand in your power. You can't get your power back if you don't show up. Back I am. And the first thing is, I recognize there's a problem. I'm not happy with the way things are. Somewhere here, I must have given up my power. Now, if you start blaming the government and your psychopathic husband and your narcissistic mother, and if you go into blame, which it's okay for you to recognize that they rubbed up against your wounds. It's okay. You're not going to pretend they were all kind. You're not going to make up a story of their goodness. But what you do is you say, even if these people have acted horribly, if that's all I obsess on, worry, to look at and point at, then I can't get my power back because there's no me. I'm talking about them having power. You know, I would have been much better if they would have gotten me those ballerina lessons. See? If it's them that has the power to have affected you adversely, they have the power to give you back, you think, your goodness. But they can't because they're not the ones that gave it away. If people were even ever in your lives willing to take from you, somebody was there signing the contract with them. So blaming them actually isn't a cure. It isn't. And it actually perpetuates the problem. I gave my power away. You can't. It's not yours to give. Your power is actually in your divinity. And that's not yours to give. It was given as a gift by God, and because it's originating in God, it's eternal. So it can't go away. But you know what you can do? You can pretend to. And that's really sad. That we can pretend that we have no value and that someone then took it. They can only seem to have taken it because you seem to have given it to them. So I need to own that there's a problem and then taking the responsibility. You know, you sit and you say, okay, this person broke my heart. They broke up with me. They ended my marriage or whatever it was. They did this to me. But if I sit honestly in my divinity, was I ever and still in love? Well, no, not really. Then shush. You were ready to leave. You're just mad because they went first. You have to own comments like that once in a while. You know, this person, the famous stories of artists, painters, musicians getting ripped off by, executives. Why do you think they got you stoned all the time? But you enjoyed getting stoned. But now, as a painter, they have money and you don't. They have rights for your art and reprints, but you don't. How did that happen? Well, those bad people, where were you? Why weren't you watching over the business? Well, I'm not really a business person. And I did this too. When I was first out touring and teaching, I would be gone teaching. I'd come home, you have income, you pay your bills, and then you leave. But I found that my partner at the time would keep messing up the bank account, the bookkeeping. And I'd be like paying all kinds of fees for insufficient funds. And I'd be like, how can there not be money? I put money in there. But I was married to a dyslexic person that had no interest in math. So I was like, this person's keeps messing up my bank account. Now wait, I said to myself, do you want to do the bank account? No, then shut up. That's it. Is she the blame? No. I was so not wanting to do the bank account, I was willing to sign over the power to somebody who's God. It was like, wow. They were like a broken abacus, mentally doing my math. I might as well just have gotten a chicken that would just, not because she is messed up, because I'm giving, this person had issues with organization in numbers. So how was I going to blame her? And as soon as I got it, I felt peace. And now, do you want to keep doing that? Do you want to keep? And here's what I won't do. I won't shame that person. I refuse. I just have to see it. Yes, there's triggers like, okay, hundreds of dollars, thousands in bank charges, every year. And, but did you want to do it? No. Then shut up. It doesn't matter, right? Do you want to fix it? Do you want it better? Yeah. Then do it. Oh, but I don't want it. Then be quiet. So, I had to, okay, what am I going to do? I got to own this. And where do I want this to change? How do I want this to change? And I got a bookkeeper. Oh, but that costs money every month. I was paying more in insufficient charges. So what's the point, So now I got this shamanic lady bookkeeper, and she was a trip. She was cool, but she helped me. And then years after that, I got incorporation and all these things that Michael doesn't want to get involved in. But a tax guy says, what you have to do, Michael, is you have to incorporate. I'm like, no, la, 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 la. I can't, it's out of my wheelhouse. But even God is coming through that person saying, Michael, yes, God, take responsibility, get grounded. Not that, yes, we have to get a tax person. But then don't get one. And then here's what happens. Things that you're going to feel disempowered with and you're going to blame. Do you want peace? Yes. And you hand that over to somebody. And now I'm not having to worry about it. I'm not having to do it. I'm not having to think about it. But I kept myself there too. When they said, you'll save X thousands a year if you keep a shoebox with the little receipts, I said, I'll pay the thousands. If it costs me $2,000 more a year for me to not have a shoebox with receipts, let it be. See, I got to still be me, which is I'm not going to keep receipts. That's just not my style. I'll just pay more. It's like, forget it. So you still get to be you, but you own this. So now if you say, I'm living alone, and it's because my partner left, now I'm alone. Is it because they left? Are you not God in the sense that you're a replication of God, you're an extension of God? How can someone have made you live alone? So you have to own this thing. If you're living alone, or if you have the checkbook going, whatever my example, but if you're living alone, listen, did someone make you live alone? Yes, they left me. Well, just go to any bar and say, does anybody want to have free room and board? There's lots of people that would go, I would love somebody to enable me and my behaviors. And you'll have somebody. Well, I don't want one of those. Then be quiet. Listen, whatever's happening most in your life, please be patient with me for a moment and eternally. Whatever is happening in the moment is the one you're most wanting. How do I know that? Because it's happening. You're not what you think, powerless nothings. We are made in God's image, and therefore, if I'm alone, I can't fix alone by hiring someone to replace the last person. That's perpetuating a negative pattern. I have to own. First, I'm noticing that I'm living alone, and I really don't feel like I like it. Before you assume that's the only truth, would you push a button and just manifest anybody? No. I want to be selective. Good. So let's own that. I am open to somebody, but it needs to be kind of what? Healthy and this and this. Great. But apparently that's not where you've been because you've been alone. Do you also like being alone? If we could just manifest someone right now, really sit with it and look at how you feel about it. And you might be like, oh, yes, peace. I would love healthy partner, twin soul, twin flame, etc. But you start to, and then they're going to be in the kitchen when I'm in there trying to cook. And your shoulders start to shrink up to your ears. And then, when we have to share the bathroom, they're going to want all my makeup off the counter. And now you're starting to do soul searching. It's called an inventory. And you realize, never mind. It's not worth it. It's true, I swear. It's a funny thing to start owning that things are exactly as we prefer them to be. How do I know that? Because it's where I'm at. What you don't want to do is turn that into a self-blame. Oh, this is great. I went to empowering new thoughts, spiritual lecture today, and I was told everything's my fault. That's not what I said, although it is. What I'm saying is, you will not be able to change it if it's someone else's fault. Do you understand what I mean by that? It can't change because it isn't here. It's there. So here's your other option. Make everybody in the world change. That's not easy. You can't even get a dog to go where you want him to go. How are you going to get the whole world to change? I'm telling you. And so you know what people do is they become deflated because they realize I can't change all of them, and I don't know how to change this without taking responsibility, and I don't want to take responsibility because I'll feel worse. You will for a moment. The Gospel of Thomas, seek and ye shall find, but what he says in that gospel, one of the lost books of the Bible, seek and you shall become disturbed, and then eventually you will find. But he talks about becoming disturbed first. Why? Because when you seek, you find yourself, the one you didn't like, the one that's the cause of all of this garbage. But if you walk through that responsibly, you find your divinity. I have to own my non-divinity to find my divinity. Now, currently in the world, man, there's stuff going on, lots of duality, which, has been predicted. But it's really interesting to me because people that are religious, even in the New Thought movement, there's people that would hear what I'm saying and go, I got it, I have to take responsibility. But there's also New Thought empowerment people that would tell you, no, don't take responsibility. That's wrong, that's disempowering. It's them. See? So even in this, we have two opinions. Okay? And in the world, religious people are really conflicting with non-religious people. But then you just take one group, religious, and they hate each other, the different religions. Okay, and they hate just take one religion, slice that out. Christianity, each faction hates each other. Oh my God. It's the weirdest thing. And then, even if you take Christianity and all the different groups, Mormon, Catholic, this and that, just one little segment of Christian, fundamental Christian, and they hate each other. That one makes more money than us, we don't like them. That one's more successful than us, we don't like them. I mean, it's amazing to get one faction of Christianity and listen to their conversations. They don't do exactly what we do. They praise too much. I remember I've talked to you guys about Lonnie, who started the whole Jesus freak movement, in the 60s, 70s. He didn't try to start it. It's just that he was doing this living embodiment of Jesus kind of thing, and it was very cool. And people were like getting really excited and high on that. Like, they're not just preaching. I mean, there was fundamental Christianity known as Billy Graham and so forth, but the suit and tie kind of thing. So it was talking it. This dude came up and he was just, forgive people, man. And he was commanding possessions to end, demonic possessions. He was commanding healings. He was amazing. But part of my point there is that he was also told when he was getting so popular and people were like, this is what Christianity is supposed to look like, where we're amongst each other in such belief, such faith, miracles are happening. Well, the guys in the suits and coats often didn't know how to do that. They only talked about how it is possible. This guy steps up and does it. You know what they told him? At one point they said, we don't want any miracles. You can only talk. If you cast a demon out of somebody, if you heal somebody and they start to wobble or whatever, we could have insurance issues. Do you know what could happen to us? Fear. So they unplugged him and his ability to do miracles. And he went into depression and he died from all this. But the fact that you would unplug that, because you had a board of trustees that were saying, we don't subscribe to this kind of behavior, and and these hippies and these healings, and people are shaking, and oh man, you imagine how fun they would be to date, So, no shaking allowed. Anyway. that's technically living in hell. There's a saying from a great mystic once. Things that are not lived cannot be redeemed. And you know what that means? If you don't embody something, it can't become real. You can talk forgiveness. Do you embody it? You can talk, yes, Lord, fill me. But if you don't embody it, right here, the value of this world is to be able to see the changes that we're making. It's just a mirror. It really is. It's just a mirror reflecting to us how we're doing. So when you start to let go, and I'm talking about within reason. I mean, you saw examples last week of setting boundaries on things that are inappropriate in the moment. Remember that? It's like, no. And, fortunately, nearly everybody got what I was saying and doing at that point. But, it's okay for a church to say to Lonnie, no miracles, because it's their place. But he needs to leave and bring it to the world, right? What he tried to do was stay. And what comes out later is that his child abuse made him long for a healthy male role model. So now the broken Lonnie allowed that to influence. See, they didn't take his power to heal. They only mirrored the old regime, the old belief systems. He had the right to say, no, I'm going to take this to the world. And instead, he felt broken and abandoned by those who should have taken care of him. And this isn't the easy path, because if I were him and I've just lost my friends and I just lost my students who were believing in me, I would feel really sad. I would. How do you not? It's like one parent convincing the children that you're the bad guy in the relationship and the kids all go their direction. That doesn't feel good. Well, it's the same in a church kind of scenario. But the world is pushing it and making, why don't we change this? Why can't someone within even one community, like fundamental Christian, let alone all Christian, let alone all religions, let alone all people, why can't just one person say, why don't we get along? If we want people to think that Christianity is somehow better than any other option, we have to show them that we're not like everyone else. How about acceptance? How about love? Look at the world with the whole gender issues today. And people are like, this is out of control. It's because you repressed and judged people's gender preferences for so many decades, right? That it's now blown up the opposite direction. But it makes sense to me. You've made everybody so upset they don't know what they are. That's what's happened. Why couldn't it be just so? If you give people less reactions, they need to swing the pendulum less distance to prove something, to make a point on something. Acceptance and peace. But it isn't the one from the outside you need to wait for. You have to have it here. So let's take, for example, Jesus, just as an example. How different. There have been religions and thought systems and philosophies throughout history that believed in the cycles of life and death. And you would even say life, death, and resurrection, right? Nature comes back every year. So a lot of traditions would be like their cycle that we honor. The difference between Jesus and all the rituals in the past is that Jesus said, I'm going to embody it. Now watch for that word for the rest of this talk. I'm going to embody. We're not going to talk about it. I'm going to embody it. You will kill me and I will resurrect. And nobody has done that before. See, we're not going to talk this. Aren't the cycles of nature wonderful? And even embodying it to a point of, don't forget, every year give thanks to the plants and the harvest. And, it's beautiful. But it became empty ritual. So he says, you have to embody it. I don't want to hear any more about springtime, maypole festivals, he's saying. He's demonstrating. I don't want to hear how you dance around the maypole and you celebrate fertility. I want you to show me. Do you bounce back after a divorce? Well, I would, but what? What? Who are you giving power to? Well, I didn't realize that he was going to get 70% of everything. So what? They murdered me. I didn't do anything. And I still fully resurrected. Everybody can bounce back if you know who you are. Jesus couldn't have bounced back and resurrected and went, if he was like, oh, these Romans, man, they totally were disrespectful to me. I mean, how could he resurrect if there was a blame on someone else? He even told us, forgive them, they know not what they do. Which means I'm going to demonstrate I will not be able to bounce back to life if I'm saying, don't forgive them. They're jerks. He had to be in a forgiving mind. You and I, we have to be in a forgiving mind. And someone in this audience and online somewhere, no, I can't believe this. No way. You have to blame others because it is I know it feels that way, and continue doing that if that is your God and your religion for now. You call it blameism. Okay? Make your own little tradition. I'll bet you sell a lot of books. The art of blame. Workshops, blame 101. Blame level 1, blame level 2. I'm a blame level 3, inductee, man. Nobody can blame the way I do. I mean, it can be made into something, but that's not what we're talking about. It's a hologram. Who is there to blame, first of all? You're blaming shadow figures. That's a little odd, right? Oh, the air conditioning came on. God, I'm getting cold. You damned air conditioning unit. It's like it's sitting there going, like it's the presence of Jack Frost in some box in your garage blowing cold air on you. I'm so weird, huh? But it isn't an air conditioning unit that's going, man, I'm going to so throw you off today. It's someone set the thing to cold. You go over and you move it to warmer. I mean, that's all. But that's the same with everything else. You have to own it. First, you recognize it's too cold or too hot. Then you have to own, so you said it there, go change it. But that's just like a relationship. They treat me so, what gave them the idea that they could? You know what I'm saying? I mean, someone has to tell them that's not an option. That's all. They have to, but you can't say it. They have to feel it from you. You know the old metaphor of the bully in school? Who, quiet, there's this kid who keeps getting bullied, and eventually, he's the one that usually humbles the bully. But he couldn't if he was still a victim. Something had to happen in him. I remember this in 7th grade, I think it was, 8th grade. Some few guys that were older and big guys, and I was wearing this cap on my head, and they took it and they started tossing it to each other, and they thought it was funny. There was a point where something happened in me, and I threw some swings at some of them. And immediately they went, well, hold it, man, I was just kidding. I didn't hit anybody, but because I couldn't reach them. But I took a few swings, and they went, whoa. I mean, you could just feel palpably like, they were like, uh-oh. They have to know you mean it when you say no or yes or whatever it happens to be. Your kids, your dogs, or whatever. The world needs, and you can't do that unless you embody it. The world needs to see that you've embodied it. Jesus was different. Even the Pharisees, they're like, so what's the big deal about this teacher? Why is everybody turning away from us and listening to him? And one of the things they said, he's different. How so? He's still quoting the same scriptures, some here and there. And one of them says, but it's like it's living words. Something's different. He's not reciting. He's saying it as though he somehow knows. You see? I mean, when I stand here and talk, one of the things I hear people say, you speak from a place of knowing, how could I do otherwise? I could never picture going, I don't have a clue about what I'm saying, but I have a lot of theories. I can't picture being a teacher like that. I really feel that I know. Not an arrogant I know, but what I'm saying, I see it, I feel it, I know it to be true. Whatever I'm talking about. It's there, it's an embodied thing. Buddha said the same thing. Speak from that place of knowing. Learn to embody these things. So Jesus, wow, he becomes the Savior, the symbol of resurrection. which means that any soul that thinks it's flawed, guilty, ashamed, karma, hell, and so on, it no longer, because I did this on an embodied level. Even being hung on the cross, and these people are still thinking to a degree, whatever, he's just a prisoner, we're killing, and so on. When they puncture through his ribs, the pericardium and heart, water and blood flow out. This is classic. I love this, because when they actually punctured his blood, which was holding his consciousness, right? In other words, his consciousness is programming every cell, right? Your consciousness is programming every cell. Your cells don't program your soul programs your cells. Your body's a reflection of your soul. So when they puncture him in the heart and soul chakra, they actually released his consciousness onto the planet when it poured out and hit the earth. Isn't it? Ooh. It's like, wow, wait a minute. I think it's hilarious. Because he's like, no, go ahead, really, go ahead. Because I know what's going to happen. All the earth then went dark. The whole earth went dark for a period of time. And earthquakes, enough to destroy the temple that was in Jerusalem. All the earth goes, people around the world, China even, there's annals and records, historic records, something happened and the world went dark. Why? Oh, and then there's your, academics and we think that there was blah, 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 and they, have something because they don't understand. Listen, there have been mystics that have been wise. There have been healers that have worked miracles on this planet. There have been people throughout history that have done amazing things, philosophers and so on. But Jesus was different. He embodied everything. He wasn't a symbol of it. He was an embodiment of it, which takes it to another level. So those people that were able to work miracles and so on, they didn't make the whole world go dark, ever. Pythagoras never went and made the whole world go dark. There was something different about this level of consciousness called Christ consciousness. The whole world. He also resurrected himself. It hadn't been noted anywhere that someone was actually murdered, physically dead for days, and then resurrected themselves. There's not a lot of records of spiritual teachers throughout history that traveled to every continent, not only integrating, it's always about embodying, integrating all the greatest teachings from Britain to Tibet, all over the world, and then he also brought back to them after his crucifixion. There's records everywhere, every continent, that he showed up and taught them again. They talk about him having shown up again with the wounds and so on. This is amazing because he not only studied all wisdom, he combined it and brought it back at the highest level, Christ consciousness. Is that making sense? He's not just another author. He's not another, public figure. He's not just another motivational speaker. He's different in so many ways. And so the Shroud of Turin, as an example, because part of what I'm saying today is own. You have to own the not so great things, not out of blame and shame, but you own that they're stemming from you. Then you shift it inside, and now you get to own your choice to be a channel of God. But you can't just go, I don't believe in any of that, and I haven't done anything. I'm just a victim of the world, but I'm going to be a channel of God. That doesn't work. You have to show up for you to be a channel of God. You have to show up. And first part of that, owning that there's a problem somewhere. Owning that the problem stemmed from your misbeliefs, held judgments, resentments, unhealed wounds. Then you release those, your vessel is then empty, and now you can bring forth the highest of the high. Is that all making sense? Okay. So the Shroud of Turin is an interesting metaphor because some people are still arguing whether it's authentic. I'm saying to you, please, you can sit around and wait for other people's approval of you, but you don't have to. If you believe it's okay to be gay or straight, do you really need your parents' approval still? Really? If you believe free thinking is okay, do you need the government to give you permission? Think about it. I encourage you to no longer need anyone's approval. So there's these people arguing for decades about whether the shroud is authentic. And somebody's going to say, now we've proven it's authentic, and some academic is going to say, no, we blah, blah, blah. The shroud, they're saying, oh, it was created in Britain. Maybe it was Da Vinci or some genius that made this false thing. But the shroud has dozens of pollens that are only from Palestine region. Some indigenous only to Jerusalem. And then the image and the particular wounds, this is not a knight from the Dark Ages that was buried and it left an imprint. They don't even understand how it's imprinted. But you know what it is? It's a photograph. It's actually a negative photo, negative. The imprint on the shroud is a negative. It's an imprint. It's a photograph. For that to happen, just like when you see the old Frontier days when they did the photographs, remember that? That big light, dangerous as heck, right? Smile, poof, everybody's on fire. That flash also in Hiroshima left images imprinted on walls where people were standing in front of a wall between the flash and the wall. A solid surface and the flash on the opposite side. Boom, it was enough to leave imprints. By the same token, Jesus left a flash imprint on the shroud. But here's what I think is funny. Now, I don't need this. I've never needed this. I always have known the Great Pyramid is not 3,000 years old or 5,000 years old. I know this. But I don't make it a big deal and tell everybody how wrong they are. I just don't watch History Channel. Why? Because you're allowed to switch things off and say no. Why feed into the insanity? Why should I sit there, like a grumbling old man watching, I can't believe these people. I just don't watch it. It's ridiculous for me to argue with a TV set. So I don't bother because I know they're afraid. People are making money off of this fear. The stations are owned by people who make money to tell you other stories. Do you guys believe in UFOs especially now that this is coming out? The government says, yes, there's UFOs, right? It's kind of surreal, isn't it? I don't remember a time in my life where I thought, I don't think so. I've never felt that way. To me, it's like, no. Of course. Of course there's these ships, these beings. It's true. It's freaky, but it's true. It's kind of surreal. Bigfoot, it's true. If people knew all that I know and understand or things I believe, they'd go, this guy's, Michael, we get the UFO thing, but Loch Ness Monster, no way. It's true. Fairies, nature spirits, it's all true. And I never needed anybody to tell me that. I've never gone, oh, well, boy, wasn't I mistaken. Give the power for people to believe. And anything you can imagine is true, first of all, on some dimension. But it's all true. People have validity. Gay, straight, this religion, that religion. Everything has a place. Allow it. And then you'll feel peace. No conflict, no proving. So the Shroud of Turin, two really surreal things that I think, I don't need the evidence, but I think it's beautiful and fun. One is they now found, with all the high-level computer technology and photography, they actually found on the shroud a place where there was once a cloth set, and they wrote on the cloth, and some of the ink imprints the shroud, okay? And whatever those piece of cloth, it was like a toe tag on a corpse. And it says on the shroud, they now have found Jesus the Nazarene. But I didn't need that, but it's just so cool. This is his shroud. So now, one more step. How did it imprint? Because he turned to light. At the moment when he said, now, poof, and he turned to light, and it left an imprint of his body. It's fantastic. No, he doesn't want us to take it, put it on an altar, and worship it. It's the light that's amazing. You are light. And now they've taken this with computer, technology. They take this and they go, we didn't realize, but the shroud is slightly blurred, the image. Do you know why it's slightly blurred? Because at the moment the flash happened, he moved. They know that whoever the shroud was, the person's body was buoyant. It was starting to move and lift. Isn't that cool? And of course it was. I don't go, oh, but stop. That's just fear. It makes total sense. And in a way, it's the religion of the study of the philosophy of not people and dogmas, it's light. Light is another word for Christ. In the beginning was the Word, right? That concept. Or God in the Genesis saying, yeah, let there be light. I am light. But Jesus was in a body trying to hold a body together so he could converse with people and tell them about the light that they are. In you is the light. I am the light of the world. He said this, he teaches this. But at that moment, he lets go of holding the body dense cells together. Now, poof. When he lets go of humanness, he turned back to light. Because he's special. No. He said, everything I'll do, you'll do and more. We are the light of God. So when you're in a crisis and you don't allow it to get the best of you and you affirm light, you're actually affirming what you really are. I know this seems challenging, but it has no real power over me. Take your power back. But you never gave it away. It just looks that way. But taking it back is a metaphor. It's like a ritual. Owning what's going on isn't great. Owning that you have to have played a part and then choosing otherwise. I am the light of God. I am okay. The real me is okay. Despite what other people seem to be doing, I feel faith. I feel like I'm okay. And that's what he's doing. He allowed himself to be who he really is, light. And in that moment, he burst to light. But that's, in a sense, called having a light body, which most people don't understand. But you become perfect light. He became perfect light. But what's beautiful is that in his infinite love, it's not either or. He burst into light, and now he can't come back to earth. He densified. He told his apostles and people, touch me and see, every bone and vein is there. They could touch and then he'd disappear again. Because it doesn't, and this is a metaphor too, you being a spiritual being does not mean ignoring density. He densified so they could see him. And you too can densify enough to do your own checkbook. To deal with 3D things. See? I mean, I watch myself, and it's kind of funny sometimes when I see the 3D world calling of whatever level. It doesn't matter if it's finance or sensual or the third dimensional world. And our brain is wired. You're either here or you're delusional. And yet we're all sitting here raising our level of delusion, meaning spirituality, which is only delusional to the 3D people. They think we're nuts. So you're trying to do the opposite of what people are used to. So it's not either or. It's not, I'm spiritual, therefore I don't even have a checking account. I also don't have any food. See, that's extreme. But the opposite is, I have tons of money, but I never meditate. That's what we're told, these two extremes. How can I be with God and let that reflect in my day-to-day life? That's the rub right there. That's the miracle. To be plugged into God and bring it through on every level. So you plug into God, imagine upper three chakras. You plug into God and then you invite God into heart, mind, emotions, and body. Every chakra. The mystics of old used to think, naughty chakras, naughty. I believe in God. It was one or the other. And those who were the most twisted actually shamed other people who had bodies and burned them at the stake. Why? Because I'm trying to be so into God, but I can't when I'm looking at you. You're kind of hot. Witch! Temptress! See? So humans try to, cut away their own projections as though that's going to help. So that murderous stuff, the Nazis and their crazy behavior, not Germans, Nazis, and their crazy behavior towards Jews. It's ridiculous. But I get it. They have a light. They're called Israel lights. And you are Nazis. So you don't see your own light, so you take it out on other people that you perceive it in. And it doesn't help that they walk around saying, we're Israel lights. I hate you. Got to kill you because I don't see. Right? It's like an accident waiting to happen. Terrorists are errorists. They're people coming from the wrong mindset. But people project and they blame and they're trying to, and those who molest, and they're trying to hurt people that they perceive light in, that they don't feel in themselves. You must own this. If I as a person, or we as a race, a particular tribe, group, nation, if we blame, if there's a them, I can't turn this around. I can't, because there's a them, which is actually delusional. It's a shadow figure. But they're an image. They're a symbol of my projections. We hate that group of people. Why? Because they seem to have what we don't have. Would you like to have? Yes. Love them, bless them, breathe in their essence, their prosperous being, or whatever you perceive. Breathe that into yourself and become prosperous, if that's what you think is shamed onto them. They took our money, or whatever it happens to be. Own it for yourself. Being able to even walk amongst family members who thought you were a, little something, and you walk in and you're alive. It's surprising, but you don't go out of your way to prove it. You don't go and, force it in people's face, but you just hold this different presence. And whether that's, in a religious sense or whatever else in this world is not embracing it. This world is not running to embrace your changes. It's trying to keep you small. So the world made you broken. No, the world reflects your brokenness that you have to change. I'm just coming out of high school and the world's so messed up. Now I can't go to college or have the career I wanted. Who says? Well, I saw it on the news. They want you to be afraid so that you're powerless, so that you're more easy to control. We still have the ability to do anything. Jesus turned his body into light. I'm pretty sure you can take a driver test or whatever else, three-dimensional kinds of things. But, do laugh at it once in a while when you see your rebelliousness. When you see that there's a part of you that's, I wish I had a partner. Not really. You sit there and go, oh, come to think of it, and look at it and check those things off and go, it's kind of funny, right? I would love to be more prosperous, but deep inside, if I'm more prosperous, I have more money, then I've got to do this, and I have to accounting, and there's programs in our head that are trying to dismantle our success. But that's not God's will. That's my self-sabotage. Is that making sense? Can't change these things, unless we own them. So something, as I'm going to draw to a close now, and I'm appreciative of some of the original concepts. The idea of self-love. See, this other that I'm talking about is self-doubt, self-destruction. When you asked about healing power, it's not what someone does to you, it's what you accept. You can go and lay on the best masseuse's table, get great work, and be in here in fear and judgment. What good does it do for me to go lay on a massage table? They've got waterfall, music, and the colors in the room are just right, and lavender and some citrus, it's so beautiful. And you lay there, go ahead, start rubbing. It's like it kind of doesn't really help. You're like a surfboard up on their table, and just go ahead, rub something. You get up and go, I don't really feel much better. I'm never going to do this again. You're tense. You lay there and you breathe and you make sounds and there's stretching and everything has a sound and a vibration and you're open and you start it with in your hands, God. It's, in your hands, surrendering to whatever the process, the chiropractor, the surgeon, whatever, to you, God, right? Instead of fear. I really don't trust medical, big pharma. How is your medicine going to work when you need medicine? Your medicine's like, we're coming for you. You've been judging us for 50 years. Big pharma. We'll see. Now we're the medicine going into your system. We're going to and side effects and all this. Because your judgments were not right. I see it. I'm sorry. I was acting as though these things were powerful over us, and they're not. I accept the grace of God through a pill, through a massage, through conversation. If I'm so holy, then holiness is everywhere around me. And I can welcome that in. I can breathe that in. Right? It's like fantastic. Everything becomes my healer. Everything becomes my savior. Light of God is everywhere, and all I'm doing is dancing in delight to be able to mix with that other light energy. So that we're just these beautiful particles just sharing this experience. There'll be days when you're not in the mood to feel that way. You know, those days happen. You could be all Christy, and you go in the shower and chanting light language, and you get in the shower and you lather up, and then that dang plumber who worked on your system last week, I knew he didn't know what he was doing, and the water goes off, and you're standing there with suds, in your eyes, and you're like, oh, burn, like it's some exorcism, and all you're doing is facing these subtle resentments that you don't trust men or plumbers or contractors and all that stuff, and you put that out there, and then you attract it. And it's not easy to ignore these things, because on the earth these things happen, but they only happen until we're done with them. Someone has to turn that around and attract someone who does know what they're doing, and the water does work. But even if it doesn't, you go, okay, I got to find my way to my swimming pool or my hot tub or the sink or somewhere where I can rinse this stuff out. And for me, usually I find humor in these kinds of things. I just, that's why when I tell the stories of personal people, it's hilarious, but that it wasn't in the moment. But that's my view of it. I just kind of see the light or the humor to a lot of things in this world. Do your best. You will not see light in this world till you become the light. You have to own what you want to see. You can't wish for it. You can't even pray for it. You pray for a change in your consciousness. When you have light in your consciousness, you see light in the world. It's simple math in that sense. But we don't want to believe that. Why? Why are we so afraid? When one of you asked about awareness of grace, see, that's what we're afraid of. You're not afraid of the darkness in this world. You're afraid of your light. If I own that I have light, I can do anything. Anything. Yeah, but that feels strange. Michael, have moments where dialogues with God, and one that was like a day or two ago, I remember, there was this concept of the world and its heaviness. And I remember in talking to Spirit, Christ was saying, well, you've had opportunities where we said you don't have to go back anymore. Now, that's pretty cool, isn't it? When you have God or Jesus saying, you're good. You don't have to go back anymore. Here's how I responded to that. Meaning I was shown historically the moment where I was told you don't have to go back anymore. I was like, see, I have to own this. I go, okay. But I almost literally saw myself saying this to Spirit. But there are challenges, and I'm going to commit and go in and help before I have time to think about it. And the way I worded this was almost like, I remember, I don't want to know too much of heaven. Because if I'm too plugged into heaven, I know I'm not coming back. Because when you taste heaven, it's too irresistible. So I was like, I don't want to just become one with bliss, knowing the world is the condition it is, hoping that they get it together. So I was like, no, not too much heaven. Send me back quickly before I have time to think about it. And it's the same as getting into a pool or pond or river, that's cold water. If you stand there, or fire walking, if you stand there going, well, I don't know, let me check the temperature of the fire, that's not how you do fire walking. And you can stand at the side of a river going, it could be too cold. Baby toe. Nope. 2 toes. No, it takes forever. I'm like, just throw me in. Let's go. That is how I've incarnated at times. Yeah. It wasn't always just, oh, I'm like, go, let's go quick. That's my attitude about it. Send me in now before I change my mind. So I have these sometimes funny memories and experiences, and I say them and I share them in a way that's kind of funny, because it is kind of funny. I don't make it all this serious. Let me tell you how spiritual I am. God said, we want to help the world, but we can't without you, Michael. That's just so heavy and religious. Instead, I depict myself as somebody, send me in now before I have time to think about it. Because that's how I feel. That feels true. I can see it in me. I can feel it in me. It makes total sense. So, at this time in the world, Jesus had apostles, Mary Magdalene, some very wise individuals. And they all incarnated again. They didn't all ascend. All the apostles are incarnated right now on planet Earth. Mary Magdalene has come back. Everybody but Jesus and Mother Mary. And Mother Mary is Jesus' twin. But the ultimate, we're all one. There's no twins, there's no thing, as we here in the illusion there is. But I encourage you, if you're going to think in terms of, I want my twin flame, I want my soulmate, I'm just asking you. You can have romantic soulmates. You want a twin flame, you want a twin soul, choose either Jesus or the Holy Spirit of God. Do you know who Jesus chose as his twin flame? Mother Mary. I know some people are going, no, it was Mary Magdalene, because you're thinking romanticized. Get over that. Spirit doesn't think in romanticized thoughts. Jesus and Mother Mary joined. She agreed to give birth to the Christ because she herself was Christed enough to do so. And she's an ascended master now. Everybody else incarnated, not because they were bad or flawed, even Judas. All the apostles have come back because Jesus said, I would really appreciate it if you would. And how could they say no when they've lived the life? They know the value they can bring. So you too, even if you're feeling in pain on this planet, even if you have wishes at times or memories of wishing you weren't here, guess what? You are here. There has to be something for you to bring. I don't mean grandiose inventions. I just mean your presence. There's someone somewhere that needs you, and you need them. That's the ultimate soulmate. Thank you for being my soulmate today. We helped each other. Appreciate that. And move on. You don't have to specialize it and romanticize it. You can be intimate partners with people, and they can be romantic soulmates, but don't make them one and only. But if you're going to go twin on anything, let it be the Divine Mother. That's what Jesus did. He chose the Holy Spirit as his twin. And look what they did together. And, who are you choosing? Choose Jesus, the Christ, or the Holy Spirit. Why? Because they symbolize your divinity. Let your divinity be your twin. Let your divinity be what you fall in love with. All the Rumi-like poems and such, and Psalms, and when they talk romanticized, and the Proverbs and Solomon's wisdom, when you read these kinds of romanticized poems and writings, they're not about people. And they're not just about God. They're about your own divinity. I miss you, my beloved. That's me. You could say it's also God, but it's also my divinity that I miss. Take a few centering breaths. We become the walking presence of God. Light embodied. It's everyone's destiny. For now, it looks like some of us are teachers, leaders. It looks like that. That's temporary. Jesus himself says, I'm only different from you in that I did it first. First is like saying there's a time frame. When time's an illusion and we realize it, there's no first and we're just one with the Christ. There won't even need to be an appreciation for what happened because it will be gone. So to honor Jesus or Mary or teachers or healers it doesn't have to be about your power being placed in them. It's gratitude, not power placed in them. It's gratitude for what they reflect in you. Your deservability. And I know they're reflecting God because God says I deserve. Today's meditation space. I need do nothing. And breathe into that. I need do nothing. I don't have to dispute or debate thought systems. I just accept what's true. I can tell what's true. What's true for me now. And I stay open-minded to where that could expand and expand until one day it's capital T, truth. I'm sitting, I need do nothing other than accept the truth of God. I don't have to convince myself of forgiving. I see its value. I don't have to convince myself that I deserve a better life partner or finances. Of course, own it. And when it's not yet happening, don't judge yourself. It's just, oh, how funny. There might still be some little beliefs to the contrary, and I give those to you, God. I need do nothing. I don't have to defend, prove, struggle. I don't have to wrestle with anything to find my deservability. The children you try to make into healthier people, those you've tried to help financially, pause for a moment. I need do nothing. I trust in their value and their goodness. I trust in their sobriety. In God, it can be no other way. I get it. I'm not responsible to fix them, but I can be the presence of a knowing that they're okay. Let them feel that rather than my worry, which just impregnates it more with that energy. I need do nothing. I step aside and allow the will of God to work through me. Even light workers get tempted to do light work. The daughters of heaven are those of us who say, I need do nothing. It's already okay. Peace, peace. Let people come to mind and send them a blessing. The peace I am, I extend to you. That's not doing, that's being. All I'm doing is being the peace of God and extending it organically, sharing it. The prosperity I am, I extend to you. To people that are anxious, to people that are angry, people that are hyper-political or economic issues or whatever their worries might be. Shh. God, I am, I share with you. And notice how when you extend that to people that are hungry in the world, look at their faces when you give them the presence of God. they look fed. Look at nations, guys. The peace I am, I extend to you. They can't hold rifles and guns. They can't push rocket bombs, buttons. They can't because they're so blissed out. The peace I am, I extend to you. If we still need to take external actions, we call upon your guidance, Divine Mother, Holy Spirit of God. Show us what to do and not do. To whom? Guide us. But in the meantime, God's peace to everyone. Know that it's true. Integrate it and embody it. And all of life's tests are only for that purpose, to get us to embody and know instead of staying theoretic. It's all about ingraining in us greater faith. It's working our spiritual muscles. So we can shame life's tests, or we can own that they're there to help us anchor greater truth, greater knowing. For all such tests, we give thanks. There's an easier way, and I'm willing to accept that easier way now. And so it is. Just gradually and gently back into your bodies. Okay. I pray this has all made good sense. It's so important that we embody. Is that clear what that means? To own and embody something rather than talk about it out there. Becoming. We've done talks about owning. We've done talks about becoming, being and becoming. Similar topics you can look for online on YouTube if you'd like. We're going to do our closing prayer in a moment. We will do a few announcements and take up a collection, and then we'll do our closing prayer. By the way, those of you who came in yesterday for Volunteer Day, God bless you folks. Please stand if you were here yesterday for Volunteer Day. All around the room, you'll see individuals standing here and there. These people are the ones that did our decor for the holidays. Thank you. Yes. Let's take our love offerings, please, being as generous as possible. The donations go in the purple bags we have, and then extra donations, if you have, go in the wicker baskets. Those are for people of lesser means or sometimes special projects. All right. Together we share divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. Can anyone share while they're passing those what you learned or heard today that made the most sense or that might have been the most important for you to have heard? Yes?
Who needs me today?
Yeah, who needs me today? And it's reciprocal. How can I be helpful? Here's a funny thing, okay? So I sometimes go to this juice place in town where they have this chocolate milk. So I go and I get this, and which is kind of funny because it would be just as easy for me to go home and make Ovaltine, which I think tastes even better. But being a relatively lazy person, I just go and buy the chocolate milk over there. So I go and get it, and often if someone's in line with me, I pay for whatever they're getting, okay? And so there's people that are very gracious. Oh, no, and I just do it. And I stand there, and I will, Act like I'm looking at the other juices that I would never touch. There's like whatever, fruity stuff and veggie drinks. And so I just stand there looking at this until someone walks in. Then they're checking out, and then I'll say, I'll get theirs too. This is just something I do. So here's an interesting thing. In my profound level of spiritual consciousness, see, the fact that they laugh, this is not a cult, okay? They laugh at me when I claim to be too enlightened. So in my divine consciousness, I'm standing there, okay, if there's someone I'm going to help today, and I can do this, you can do it, I'll wait 1 minute. When 1 minute's up, then I'll just check out if there's nobody I'm supposed to help. So somebody comes in, I'm like, good one, that was great, right on time, it was perfect. It's divine alignment and all that. So I'm waiting, and then they're checking out, and I'm going to turn to say, I'll get theirs. You know what he said? Hey, I'll get yours. I was like, wait. That wasn't in the plan. I don't know what to do. So I thought it was kind of funny. And I said no. But that could be what? Rejecting your good, right? So I check in. Does he need to? And I said no. And the reason I said no was because I have a few bottles. And you know how healthy things cost like $8,000 each. So I said no because I didn't have one little thing for him to cover. I had a few, which is going to be a lot more. So I said because there's several. But it was amazing. Give and give and give and receive. Yes, it comes back, but also receive. But it was a funny little moment because I'm in the track of doing this, and then this person says, hey, I'll take care of you. I'm like, I was thrown for a second. I mean, it felt like a second. It was probably not even perceptible in time to him. I just went, oh, no, thanks. But inside, I'm like, what's happening? There's like smoke. What's happening? Is this rejecting my good? And I look at the whole thing, and then I said, I appreciate it, So watch in your life. Good is there. People will pay things forward. Goodness is going to come, but we have to be that presence of that goodness and attract it, right? It's like that musical note that just sets that key, and then other things start to vibrate to that same consciousness. So keep that in mind. Anybody else? Yes? Yes?
Just today, it's just felt so worm-like in the room. And this morning I had this quandary, and what I've learnt or remembered is, what shall I do? And she said, give it to me. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And after I'd meditated this morning, I picked 3 cards, and you've mentioned all of this. It was Mother Mary, surrender, miracle.
Wow.
And this room feels like a miracle.
Oh,
Thank you.
The room itself, and when I asked you about your enlightenment, then you said Christ, light is Christ.
Yeah.
That will stay with me, walking
Beautiful.
in the deepest sense.
Right.
Just because it is.
So in a time of today, a quandary, but then you felt that surrender it to the mother. And then you highlighting also that light is Christ. Christ is light. Did you get, isn't that interesting about the shroud? I mean, do you use your imagination when I say stories like that? That's what happens to me. I'm seeing it. So, but the moment that the shroud is imprinted, there's movement. There's, that's the moment that he turns his body into light. Not a minute after or before. The moment it happens, it flashes. And I get chills saying it. But I think it's also beautiful and fun. It's not like, crucifixion, all that heavy stuff. It's, oh my God, I am the light of the world. And so are you. You just don't remember it yet. But I remember, and I'll show you. Even though you hate the light, Michael's really wrong on that because we don't hate the light. We hate our light, fear our light more than our darkness. That's why we live in darkness so often. Because we're so afraid of our light. Why else would we bargain away goodness? We're used to it. We're addicted to it. But now we're learning to see. You got to see through it. You got to see it's happening. You got to own that you don't value your light as much as you could. Look for symptoms of it. Just like I was being gifted this drink this chocolate milk or whatever, and I still stopped to ask, was I rejecting good? I asked, didn't I? Check in, watch yourself. Because if that's what was happening, I would have said, you know what? That would be amazing. You see? But that's not what was happening, so I was fine. So keep an eye on yourself and look for, I'm the light of God. And bring that every day. Bring that to people, right? Bring that goodness, bring that, that light. Why not? Share what you've got. If you've got 8 houses, start selling some. And this is why Jesus told people, and give the money away. I'm not saying be impoverished. I'm not saying own nothing because it's shameful to have stuff. No, I'm just talking about the beauty of giving. You see, just the beauty of giving. I can't picture. I go into a workshop's over, I'm flying home. I'm giving money to the Sky Caps. Why? Because I made money in their town. Right? I've got cash on me from doing a workshop. Well, but it's mine. Is that the way to think of this? Then it's all constricted. Whatever you think is the mine, and you constrict, there's no abundance to that. So you'll always be grabbing to have. So yeah, the Sky Caps, and they're like, what? Most people don't even tip them. But if they do, they give them like $2. Listen, if it's a problem, lift your own bags. Haul your own bags down to the airline. Well, no, they're too heavy. Then be quiet. Give them $5. It means a lot to people that don't have. Share what you can. And if you say, I've got no cash, smile, because it's worth $1 million. Smile. Let people feel valued. And it isn't just with cash, but any way you can. Wow. I love that hair. We call it, it's beautiful. Or just things, just shine light into a dark world. And you can say, but it isn't a dark world, not if you shine light. But otherwise it is, because it was miscreated by the human ego, by people that were afraid. And you can't create good when you're afraid. All right. By the way, I forgot. The couple of quick announcements. Remember that the private sessions, or the yurt here is open. We have crystal bed in there. You can go and have some really amazing, transformative kind of healing done in there. It's pretty fantastic. I'm doing a 3-day intensive on Christ consciousness. It starts this Thursday on Thanksgiving. So join us if you can. We talked about some of the, Christ concepts today, but it's very, very deep, very profound workshop, 3 days. We'll be doing every year we do a variety of new things, but I'll be doing a lot of new things in this one. But it's a 3-day starting on Thanksgiving. Register if you can. And on that same morning, we're also having munchies here for folks. And you come and join us for Thanksgiving, okay? Whether it's because you don't have family in the area, come and, break bread with us. Or if you do have family that you want to get away from, come here. By all means, come here. We'll have some munchies. Don't bring munchies unless you sign up in the foyer or call the office and tell us so that we can keep track of what kind of food you guys bring, okay? And on social media, thank you if you're on social media, if you watch us. Remember, there's hundreds of free videos on YouTube, so it's all available for you to check out. There's the Daughters of Heaven items. I think they have a dozen or two left, but the t-shirts and the water bottles, whether you're online watching or here in person, they're like half price. So there's a dozen or 2 dozen left. They have them in the bookstore, so please go grab a set of those. And you'll be helping us as well to make room to clear space that we need in the bookstore. And you can gift them to other people, obviously. Remember, every day we have videos being presented in here, 12 to 2 every day. It's free. And you can watch videos of myself or Alan Cohen or Carol Hauer, people, of Course in Miracles-ish, Christ-ish, spiritual-ish, and we present these things. You can also call in a certain day. You could say, hey, is it possible if I come in? I'd love to see a video on Rudolf Steiner or whatever. They could track something down and play that for you if you ask with enough time ahead. Today's Psychic Sunday, if you didn't already know that. So by all means, register. We get some of the best psychics in the region to come to our psychic fair. We have it once a month. So stay for that and get signed up for your sessions. Okay. Please stand for our closing prayer. If any of the board members know of something I forgot to announce, feel free to let me know. And even though we're way out here, I extend deep gratitude to Robin Miller and John Dumas, who did a concert this last Wednesday. So it's very, very beautiful. As a matter of fact, that's helping to co-create something else. Oh yeah, and Nina was there. So that's helping to co-create. We're going to have a Christmas program, Christmas Eve at 2:00 afternoon, after service, a couple hours later. So mark your calendars. Christmas Eve day at 2:00, we're going to have a 2-hour concert. But we're going to do a concert sponsored by the center 2 or 3 times a year from now on. And it's going to be extraordinary. It's going to be extraordinary. How do I know? Because I know. Yeah, I know. It's going to be fantastic. The depth, how we're going to do it. We'll have different musicians here and there, but it's primarily a couple of key ones, and then they'll bring in people here and there. But how it's going to be done, I want the depth and the like quality of like if you've ever gone to like David Pramal concerts, very deep. It's an experience. It's not a concert, people playing at you. It's an experience, and I just felt that, and we're going to create that now. Yes.
Thanksgiving celebration feast. What time does that start there?
10:00 is the Thanksgiving feast.
Is the workshop in person next week?
Yes. So I'll be teaching the workshop here in person for those 3 days. Okay? All right. Centering into gratitude first. Deep, deep thanks. Wow. Deep, deep thanks. So many things I've done in my life that did not feel like this room that was described as magical or miraculous. It feels like this room is a miracle, was one testimonial. Boy, in my life, I've been in many rooms that didn't feel miraculous. Many experiences that didn't feel miraculous. This is what I created today. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that I chose and co-created this today. I'm grateful that my brothers and sisters all around the planet chose this today. We could be doing something else. We could be standing around a TV hating news shows and whatever. We're here. We are the light of God in this world. And only through us will the world change. So guide us in being your holy presence each and every day in every way possible, and help us bounce back on those moments, during those moments where we slip. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thanks.